Welcome, y'all. We often expect our healing to be linear, but what if it's really a spiral? This episode guides you inward toward the rhythmic wisdom of spiral fractals and the power of listening deeply to your own inner landscape. Welcome. You are listening to Our Mindful Nature, a podcast helping healers and those searching for healing respond to anxiety, overwhelm, or depression with nature-inspired meditations for better mental health. I'm your host and meditation teacher, Meryl Arnett. This podcast is recorded from my live Monday night meditation class. If you would like to access today's meditation practice or nature soundscape as a standalone audio file for your daily use, please subscribe to my newsletter at merylarnett.com. All right, y'all, grab a cup of tea, pop in your headphones, and find a comfy seat. Welcome. Happy Monday. I'm so happy to get to be back with you guys today to continue our series this month. Our series this month is From Chaos to Calm. And we started it last week by introducing the idea of a fractal being a metaphor for this movement from chaos to calm. A fractal being a never-ending, self-repeating pattern. Right? And so I'm going to just share my screen one more time, actually, so that we can look at this together. Okay. You see this little what is a fractal situation? Okay. And so last week, what we talked about were these branching fractals, like a tree. This is blood vessels. This is rivers. And it's the same pattern, the same angles that are repeated over and over again. And when you zoom out and you look at this whole thing, it's chaotic. There's a lot. But when you pull back into the simplest possible pattern, the most basic pattern that is here, the one that started it all, you have a very clear picture of what's creating all the chaos. And so the series started by saying, can we simply do the deep work of pulling back enough in moments of chaos to see the patterns at play, right? And all that asks us to do is to visit our meditation practice regularly so that we're teaching our minds how to be awake, how to witness, how to see as patterns are playing out in our days. Every time so-and-so does X, I do Y. And when I do Y, I feel a little bit anxious or a little bit chaotic. And so then the next X happens, I respond with Y, and I feel more chaotic. I'm starting to be able to see the patterns at play. But today what I want to talk about are these spiral fractals. So a hurricane, a spiral galaxy, we see these in seashells, we see them in fiddlehead ferns. And I think the spiral is really interesting because it's a metaphor you hear a lot in meditation practices, like I'm spiraling inward. I'm moving ever deeper inside myself. And for any of you that have meditated for more than 5 minutes, you know that that's not necessarily what our practice feels like. It's not like every single time I sit down, it's a little bit deeper than the day before, or a little bit quieter than the day before. It's just not that linear of a path, or circular of a path even. And for me, what it really feels like is labyrinth-like. Who's walked a labyrinth before? Anybody? Any labyrinth walkers? Ashante? Katie? Okay. Rainy? Okay. So a labyrinth, it's circular, right? It looks circular. But it's not a spiral where you just go in, boom, I'm at center. As you're walking the circles, sometimes you feel like you're almost right there in the middle, and then suddenly you're all the way out on the edge again. You don't even know how you got there. And then you're walking the outer circumference of the circle, And boom, all of a sudden you find yourself right in the center, the heart of the circle, and you don't know how you got there. When we walk a labyrinth, we never actually know where we are until we're in the center, right? We don't know how close we are to the center until we're there. And so the practice of walking a labyrinth is the practice of simply putting one foot in front of the other. When we're talking about a practice that is helping us to shift our mindset from one of chaos into calm, I think one of the most important invitations we can offer to ourselves is, let's not think about it like I'm going to do X. I'm going to do this one meditation practice and suddenly I'm going to feel so calm. I'm just going to like float through and land in an easy place, because it's not how it works. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to be right here where our feet are. And we're going to stop looking ahead for some magical moment when everything is better. You know, I shared last week that my kids had been sick for like a month and a half on end, and I really had just was tearing my hair out over it. And one of the things I noticed was every day I would wake up and I would think to myself, maybe today's the day they get better. Maybe today's the day they go back to school and I can answer emails and have an hour to myself again. And it wasn't the day, right? It didn't happen. And so how did I feel? I was mad. I was frustrated. I was disappointed. I was exhausted. I was overwhelmed. And I think that in those moments when it feels so chaotic, a piece of the chaos is because we're continually hanging our hope, all of our peace, on the idea that it's going to change. Maybe it'll change now. And the practice is saying, stop looking for center. Just find out where your feet are and be here. Right? It's so interesting because I was having a conversation with one of the women who was in the previous meditation teacher training. We had a little catch-up call. And we were talking about this idea of sort of finding center in tough moments. And she shared with me that the mantra she uses is very counterintuitive. So you know the mantra most of us use, right? This too shall pass. You said that to yourself before? This too shall pass, right? So the mantra she uses in her most chaotic moments is, this too shall last. This too shall last. And she doesn't use it as doomsday. She doesn't use it as, woe is me. This is never going to get better. Nothing ever changes. But she uses it as a reminder, just be with this. Stop looking for the better moment. And can you be at peace with this moment? I think that's a pretty powerful practice, right? Can I just be here? Can I listen here? So we sit down in our practice. And one of my clients just this morning actually said this to me. My practice is so distracted lately. All I'm doing is thinking, so it doesn't really feel like I'm meditating. And my response was, well, I think the only thing to do is stop telling yourself that you're not meditating. Sometimes our practice is full of thoughts. Sometimes it's really distracted or uncomfortable. Sometimes it's cut short because we get interrupted. Sometimes we can only sit for 3 minutes because it's literally all our bodies can handle in the moment. But rather than say, it'll get better tomorrow, I'll sit for longer, nobody will interrupt me when I change it in this way, or when my kids are at school and they can't be here, right? Instead of saying the when if we just say, this is it. This is my 3 minutes pre-interruption. This is my 3 minutes to be with all of these thoughts. And just to start to notice, what's the pattern here? What's the pattern that keeps showing up? Am I worrying? Am I planning? Am I continually obsessing about the next moment that might be better than this one? And instead, can I just watch my feet here? This is the practice. So when we talk about spiraling inward, when we talk about moving from chaos to calm, let's let it be not so much the idea of it's going to be this one easy, continuous journey in, but I'm going to follow the labyrinth of my own experience. And I'm not going to get caught up in judging, I'm doing a good job because this feels like I'm really close to center, or I'm doing a bad job because I'm way out on the periphery of thought. And can we just say, this is where I am in this moment? And if I can stay awake in this, if I can feel this, who knows what'll happen next? Right? Sometimes when I'm practicing in those really thinky moments, I remind myself that the practice is just about listening. The practice isn't about understanding anything or changing anything or even doing anything other than listening. And so you could imagine yourself in this practice. We're going to practice together in a minute. You're going to have 10 minutes of silence. It's a long time to be in silence. And in it, you're going to think a lot of thoughts. And you can just imagine yourself like chin on your hand, a little smile, and you're like, oh, that's so interesting. What else? Right? With every thought that comes up, like, lovely, welcome. I feel like I shared this story before, but I'll share it again. This comes from another meditation teacher. I think it was Mark Coleman, I think. Whoever it was sharing about meditating outside in their backyard in a tent. They had set up a tent, their little meditation studio outside. They have it all zipped up. They're inside meditating. And their cats are outside, circling the tent and pawing at the tent and wanting to be inside the tent and meowing. And whoever this teacher was, they're inside. Ignore the cats, ignore the cats, ignore the cats, practice, practice, practice. Well, you can't ignore cats forever. Anybody who has cats know, like, they're relentless, right? So finally, he gets up and opens the tent and lets the cats in. And what happens? They immediately curl up and go to sleep and stop bothering him, right? So that's like, what better metaphor exists? These are our thoughts. They're banging on the walls of our practice. And the minute we go, fine, great, be here, what else? It's not so loud. So shall we practice this together? Okay. So I'm going to get a little bit of background music going for us. And you might take a minute, if you have been seated perfectly still that whole time, just to wiggle around or uncross your legs and cross them the other way. You can sit anywhere that you feel comfortable. And if you want to turn your camera off, you're welcome to. If you want to leave it on, beautiful, whatever makes you feel most comfortable. Hands will rest onto your lap. And if you'd like to let your eyes close, please do so. And if that doesn't feel quite right, you can always take a soft gaze down towards the earth. And together as a group, wherever you are in this moment, we'll take a nice deep breath in. Open up the mouth, release a sigh. And we'll just do that again. So you'll inhale deeply through the nose. You'll open up your mouth and release a sigh. And then you'll just let your breath flow. And as you sit here and breathe, take a moment just to acknowledge the room that you're in. And if there are people or pets, roommates or neighbors making noise around you, you just let that in for a second. Noting that you don't have to change a thing about your environment to practice. And wherever it is that you sit in this moment, you'll just silently say to yourself, now is my time to meditate. Now is my time to meditate. And as you say those words to yourself, perhaps you find that there's a way you can sit a little bit more. Internally letting go a bit, so that you feel yourself rest a little heavier against the chair or cushion beneath you. And you feel along the length of your spine, making sure that you're tall and upright. Maybe you want to roll your shoulders back and down, or lift just a bit through the top of your head. And as we breathe, you might feel the muscles of the face letting go. Smoothing out across your forehead. Softening the skin around the eyes. Letting go along your jaw, the inside of your cheeks, and your tongue. Maybe you feel the next few breaths moving out across your shoulders. Allowing the shoulder blades to drop and the collarbones to spread. And perhaps you can feel yourself softening the muscles of the chest. And letting go of the muscles in the belly. And we find ourselves here, somewhere between relaxed and awake. And you'll bring all of your awareness just inside the nose. So that when you breathe in this next breath, you feel that air moving inside the body. And when you breathe out, you feel that air moving out of the body. You might even imagine that you are sitting in the very center of your breath. So that every breath in is moving through you and around you completely. And every breath out does the same. You don't have to describe this or narrate this. You're just feeling your breath as it moves. In a moment, we're going to settle into 10 minutes of silence. And there is nothing you need to do or change in this time. We'll just each sit here, feeling the inhale and feeling the exhale. And we'll listen to the thoughts that arise. We'll get to know our own minds. And when a thought or a daydream or a distraction pops up, you could try just smiling to yourself and saying, "Oh, that's interesting." And then feel your breath until the next thought pops up and do it again. "Oh, that's interesting." And if you get uncomfortable, if you feel yourself rushing towards the end, you could just remind yourself to be right here, right where your feet are, right where your breath is. Let's breathe and listen here together. Feeling your breath here. Noticing whatever thought is running through your mind just now. And without changing a thing, just let your breath deepen a touch. So you're feeling a bit fuller of an inhale now and a more complete exhale. And gradually you'll start to wiggle your fingers and your toes, just feeling into the edges of your body once again. And today, let's bring our palms together in front of our heart like a prayer and just begin to rub your palms together. Let's rub and rub until we feel some nice heat and friction between our hands. And then when they're nice and warm, you'll stack one and then the other right on top of your heart. Just taking a moment to feel that heat from your palms transfer through skin, through fabric, through muscle, through bone, all the way into the center. And as you feel ready to let go of your practice, you can release your palms and blink your eyes open. Thank you guys for your practice. Thanks for listening, you guys. Today's practice helped us to spiral inward and tune into our innermost wisdom, to embrace uncertainty without rushing to fix it, and to practice presence with the phrase, "That's interesting. What's next?" I hope you'll join me next Thursday. We will do a practice dedicated to July's new moon. And then the following week, we will close out this series where we honor the deep mystery of chaos and discover how to rest in what we cannot control. I'll see you then. Thanks for listening to Our Mindful Nature. If you would like to receive today's meditation practice and nature soundscape as standalone audio files for your daily practice, please subscribe to my newsletter at merylarnett.com. It's free and you'll receive a new practice each week. Our Mindful Nature is recorded on Muskogee land and is produced with the support of Nick McMahon and Brianna Nielsen. Deep gratitude is offered to acoustic ecologists Nick McMahon and Gordon Hempton for the use of their nature field recordings in many of these episodes. We release a mini episode that's just the meditation, no chatter beforehand, every Monday. And every Thursday, we release a full episode with a meditation class or interview. I look forward to practicing with you again soon.